Hey guys, Claudello here. Today I'm going to do a quick review and show some of the tinkering that I've been doing with the Anker Solix F3800. This is a battery bank that has 3,840 watt hours of expandable storage. I did buy this so that I can take it camping with me and hook it up to the camper because it does have a 50 amp output. You can also swap this between 120 and 240 volts. This is a 25 amp max output, but in most cases I won't really hit that. That being said, this is the connector that I do have on my camper, and so I can just directly attach it without having any drop downs or anything like that, like the 30 amps, etc. These are all 20 amp circuits, so you can get a lot of power out of this thing. I think the inverter is at 6,000 kilowatts, and I believe a surge of up to so the surge rating for this is 9,000 watts. So 6,000 running, 9,000 for a surge. That's honestly more than capable of handling most things that you would throw at this: air compressors, vacuums, speakers, honestly computers and stuff like that, which I will also be using this for. So my second use case is to bring this in home, and I will attach it to the they have like a smart switch now, and I'll show you guys that real quick. So it came with this bag, this unit, and this unit. So this is just like a secondary breaker box, and then this is actually like their smart switch. And this thing can do a lot of pretty cool features that I will go into later. Once I kind of get it installed and kind of get my hands on it, we can kind of go through that. But that'll be another video for another time. But I will be connecting this up to my house as well and taking it back and forth wherever I go. So one major concern for me is, I keep saying that I'm going to take this back and forth with me. This is 132 pounds. That's just this unit alone. It is crazy heavy. I mean, truly getting it out of the box, just moving it around, it's just heavy. That being said, lifting this, I'm definitely going to need two people to kind of like lift it any higher than probably like past my shins. Um, Other than that, it does have these roller wheels, and honestly, they are great. It does move around very easily. So I don't have any issues with that. It's just kind of like lifting it into places. Okay, so one of the hacks that I found for this thing is that you can plug in solar to this side, and now it accepts 11 volts to 15 volts at 10 amps. And so this port will literally essentially So this port will max out at 10 amps if the voltage is between 11 volts and 15 volts. Now, if you can get an input that's up to 15 to 60 volts, you can get up to 27 amps max. Now, anything below this will revert back to 10 amps. So this is kind of a low charging standard, especially for like solar panels. Higher voltage, thinner wires, and you can push higher amperages at cooler temperatures. That being said, we have two inputs. Now, I did see some other YouTubers state that the ground has to be separated between each one of these in order to get double the input out of like one single battery. And that was kind of my idea with this is like, how can I get more energy into this without having to purchase one of their very expensive additional battery packs, that you would stack on top of here and would connect up to this port here. How can I get around that? And so my idea was I have electric bikes. Specifically, I have a Surron. I did upgrade the battery on that, and I'll show you guys what the battery looks like. So here's my Surron stock battery. This is a 62 volt battery, I believe. It kind of hovers around 66 volts, 67 volts fully charged. I haven't really looked too deep into it, but that was kind of my rough estimates that I've seen so far. But essentially, it's got an input for charging, and the charger is this guy here. It's just a little waterproof 3-pin connector, but that will charge this guy through this port, and then it also has an output. Now, this connector is a weird kind of proprietary slash not proprietary connector. It is the new connector that comes on the 2024 Surrons. So what I thought of doing was, hey, since this is at 66 volts when fully charged, I technically cannot use it with this because it's at 60 volts is the maximum. So when I do plug that in, it will actually stop charging because it's over 60 volts. So it completely stops. It won't even trickle, won't do anything. So in order to get that down, I figured, hey, I can probably put like some banana connectors in there. I can go to like an XT60 connector. This has, the percentage on it, which is phenomenal. It's kind of an all-in-one unit. It does have a BMS already built into it, so I know it's all protected from oversurges and heating and so on and so forth. And obviously you put this in a bike. But I mean, look how small this is. I mean, let's put it next to the Solix. And like, just for specs, this battery here is a 62 volt or 60 volt at 40 amp hours. Now, when I do my calculations, I think I'll kind of put up the numbers up in the screen, but I believe it's around 2/3, if not the exact same capacity as what's in the Solix, which is 3,840 watt hours. I got to do my math, but I'll put up the correct numbers up here. But essentially, I can double this. Now, how do I get this to step down, which is exactly what I will be doing? I need to step down this voltage from the 66 volts at full down to something that's more like 60 volts or lower. So I came up with two solutions. My first solution was, hey, I found on Amazon this 24 volt step down. So this thing can take in, input is between 40 volts and 90 volts. Output is 24 volts and 20 amp max. So this thing, technically, let's see what 24 volts would be. 24 volts would be over our 15 volts, so we can pull up to a maximum of 27 amps. We can charge this thing at 27 amps because we are between 15 and 60 volts. Now the issue is though, this is max 24 volts, 20 amps. That's 27 amps. So this thing will literally demand the entire workload on this step down. So what I've noticed is that this thing gets hot. If this is below, like 90%, it will demand 20 amps, which is 100% duty cycle, and it will just cook the hell out of this thing. I've seen it get up to like 200 degrees. I pulled it out. I don't want to catch any fires. I did find some bigger ones that can do like, I think it was another 40 volt to 90 volt, but it would drop down to, I want to say 48 volts and like 40 or 50 amps, which would keep this a lot cooler. And so to kind of show that proof of concept, I do have this step down converter. And in order to keep this cooler, now I will have lower wattage in total doing this. But essentially this one is a maximum of 240 watts, 40 to 90 volts, 12 volts at 20 amps. This can only pull 10 amps when I'm giving it between 11 and 15 volts. So this can essentially allow for double what this can take in. So this is only running at 50% duty cycle. So this stays pretty cool. Now don't get me wrong, I'm dropping down to 12 volts and I'm only allowed to pull in 240 watts. I mean, it's pretty skimpy. But you can just let this trickle charge like all day and just, as long as you're pulling less than X amount of watts, 200 watts or whatever, you're going to be able to transfer that entire battery without noticing it. The downside is if you do pull more, I mean, it's just a slow trickle. So it just takes forever. So I think I'm going to purchase a bigger one, the one that I talked about earlier. I think I'm going to purchase one of those and then give that a try and see how it works, because I think it'll work just perfectly. I've seen other YouTubers do this with like their Jeeps and stuff, and they kind of hook up their like electric coolers up to it. And I'm going to do a little experiment on this guy too, and I'll do a video on that. But just to show you guys kind of how I have everything hooked up here from my Surron to Solix. I've got these XT60 connectors that I just soldered onto the step down converter. So those are pretty self-explanatory. One side goes into the Solix, and then the other side goes into this adapter, and this is another XT60, and it goes down to these banana connectors. And these banana connectors, while yes, this is very sketchy, the left side here is going to be positive, and the right side is going to be negative. So the side closer to the screen is positive, the side further away from the screen is negative. And now these pop in here perfectly. I mean, absolutely perfectly. So while it is sketchy, it does actually work pretty much how it should. I mean, I feel like that's actually pretty safe. None of this gets warm. None of the cables get warm when I'm actually charging the Solix. The only thing that gets warm is that step-down converter. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and show you guys kind of what wattage I get when I connect all this up, and I can show you both the 24 volt and the 12 volt. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this all connected. So just for reference here, using my little FLIR here, this is the 12 volt 20 amp, 12 volt 20 amp step down, and for reference, the temperature on that is about 60, 65, 65, yeah, about 65 degrees, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. We're going to charge the Solix up for a second. I do need to drain it, so I'm going to go ahead and hook up a heat gun and pull some power out of it real quick so we can maximize all this. So like I said, the one on the inside is the positive. And honestly, I don't recommend you guys do this at home, but I like doing crazy stuff. So, alright, so this will go right into here. So now we are stepping down from the 66 volts that's in here. I'll just plug this in. This is once again, this is the 12 volt to 20 amp. And I can always press this button out and check and see what the percentage is on this battery. I don't know, it's pretty awesome, and I hope I don't sell myself out on a really good idea, because I'm gonna buy quite a few of these things, because whenever people upgrade, these are only like 500 bucks. And I think the additional pack for the Solix has to be like, I don't know, $2,000-3,000. It's just a crazy difference. Alright, so I'm gonna come back in about 30 minutes. Let's see, it is 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. So I'm gonna come back in 30 minutes. We're gonna see how hot that is and see how much percentage has charged on this. It is charging it at 114 watts. It says about 12.5 hours just from 90%. That's what I'm saying. 12 volts is just pretty shitty. So far it's pretty cool. Okay, and then we'll do the 24 volt one. I'll show you guys how much faster that is. And then at some point I'll get an even faster one, and then we'll charge it the full rate. Okay guys. So that was 30 minutes. We're at 91%. So there's about 4 hours left. Still charging at 114 watts. Temperature wise, seeing around 75 up to 81 degrees in some spots. To the touch, it's warm, nothing crazy. Max temperature is 100 degrees. Alright, so here's where things get interesting. 100% still. So I'm going to swap these for the 24 volt one, and I'm going to show you guys how hot that one gets. Okay, so we are starting at 68 degrees roughly. 69, 70. Yeah, around 70 degrees. Okay. Now you can see that we are putting in 555 watts now from the battery, because we are at 24 volts. We are over this limit, so we can push up to 27 amps. This is pushing out 20 amps, 555 watts. So 0.7 hours, 0.6 hours, so about a half hour. Let's come back in a half hour and see where we're at. It's a huge jump. Okay, it's been another 30 minutes. Looks like we have no input. Oh, yeah. See? That's at 140. And I bet you it hit the overheat shut off. That was 30 minutes. So the cables and stuff don't seem too hot. But dang, look at that, 250 degrees. Well, we know that the overheat shut off. Oops, the overheat shut off works. But that is absolutely insane. So that does not work because we are pulling this thing too hot. So all these cables are cool. These cables are warm, but that thing's crazy hot. And this one's probably cool. So let's plug this one back in and see what it does. This battery is down to 87%. And we're back to charging. So yeah, the 12 volt one will run indefinitely. It doesn't get that warm. This is crazy though. So I'll go ahead and return this one and then get a, I think I'm gonna get that more higher power one. So I also have this bag of cables. I'd like to show you guys some stuff that's kind of cool, so I need a better way to keep all this stuff. So in the camper, and I'll show you guys that in another video, I have these two XT60s that are connected together, and on each end are little ringlets. And these will let me pull from a 6 volt 240 amp hour battery. They're lead acid, but I have them in series, so they're up to 12 volts, and I can throw that on there and then be able to charge the Solix as well. That's 240 amp hours, which should be quite a bit of juice. I'll go ahead and put whatever the math is for that for comparison. And then let's see what else I got in here. So I also have this little charging brick that can do, I think, 100 watts out of one port through USB-C. Now what's neat about that is I have a USB-C, yep, here it is. It's a USB-C to XT60. And so I can actually charge the Solix with this as well. Now it's only 100 watts, which is the same output roughly as what I'm doing with the 12 volt right now. So it's going to be a very long time. So it's going to be a very long time to get that charged. But it is a possibility, so if you are like in a worst case, oh shit scenario, you could use that. So I'm going to take this with us camping, you know, try and have all these little connectors with us. Here's another one of those USB-C connectors. It's just an adapter, USB-C, and that goes right into the XT60, so I can actually charge the Solix with this. But it would take forever, but it's an option. Okay, so coincidentally enough, while I'm making this video, FedEx just pulled up and dropped off my free 200 watt panel. and they also dropped off a C300 that I ordered. Now, I purchased all this stuff with my own money, so I'm not sponsored in any way by Anker. So these reviews and things I talk about are my opinion and my opinion alone. I am going to do a separate video on reviewing that, but essentially what my idea is plug this into the camper and have like a main source of power. All the solar will come into this thing, and then maybe have like one or two of these without or throughout the camper, or you know, that I can mobily move around, and keep those fully charged by charging it off of this. And then I can have extra capacity at the cost of, you know, an inefficiency of charging from that battery to that battery. But I think that inefficiency will pay off by having so much capacity. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a review on this box here. And then I will also talk about this solar panel later, because I wonder if I can get that hooked up into that guy as well, because I know I can take solar, but that's 200 watts. So I also have two 400 watts. So I should have around a kilowatt worth of power, which I think should be able to run at least one AC for quite a few hours. So we'll keep playing with it, and as I go camping, we'll do another run and I'll keep making videos on it. So if you do like this content or have any questions or want something for me to go over, feel free to reach out in the comments down below. Well guys, I want to end this video just announcing that I am an Amazon affiliate member, and so I do get kickbacks on links, and I will leave the links to all of these products that you see in this video today, whether it be the step down converter or the Anker or any of these cables. I will go ahead and throw those in the description down below, and I do get small kickbacks at no cost to you, so it helps support the channel and helps me kind of tinker with stuff like this. So feel free to give a like and subscribe and make a purchase. Thank you guys. Have a good day.